Up next, we have Wisconsin head coach Bret Bielema of the Leaders Division. Bielema enters his 6th year as the Badgers head coach after finishing the 2010 season with 11 wins and a share of the Big Ten championship. He has led Wisconsin to 5 straight bowl games, including the 2011 Rose Bowl, to begin his career as head coach. The Badgers return a total of 13 starters this season, including 6 on defense. You can go ahead and make an opening statement, and we'll go from there.
Thank you, Doug. Great to be in Chicago. Going into my 6th year as a head coach, it's always fun to come back down here and have an opportunity to meet with all of you, well, at least most of you, and have a chance to talk about Wisconsin football. We're really excited. Obviously, disappointed in the Rose Bowl loss, but to me as a head coach, I've really noticed a significant increase just in media attention to our program and recruiting, and it's really been a fun ride to get to where we are right now. We'll open up practice next Thursday because we are the first game of the college football season to kick off and open up against UNLV. It's brought it a little bit more excitement to play a Thursday night game on national TV, and just an added interest to be here in Chicago because we'll play Northern Illinois in Soldier Field for our 3rd game, which I think a lot of not only Northern Illinois fans, but I think a lot of Badger fans will travel to that game and have a chance for us to play a very quality opponent and have an opportunity to be on a national showcase again. And then I think to start Big Ten play against Nebraska, a team that has won national championships, has built a strong reputation. And when Jim Delaney made the decision to bring Nebraska into our league and bring the value of that name and that program, it really helped our league overall. I've noticed it in recruiting. I can't tell you how many times I've had parents or recruits sitting in my office and talk about the Big Ten Network and the exposure that it brings to bring Nebraska in, and for us to be a part of the Leaders Division for the first time in college football history, to have the Big Ten split into 2 divisions it's a great time to be the head coach. I'm very privileged, very excited. We have a lot of good players coming back. Had one addition this summer with Russell Wilson as our potential starting quarterback to come into Madison and work with our guys all summer. It's just a really great time to be a part of the Big Ten Conference. So with that up, I'll open up with any easy questions.
First easy question right here on the left.
Hi, Coach. Talk a little bit about Russell Wilson and what he brings to the Wisconsin program.
You know what? It's a work in progress. When I remember I came in the middle of spring. I can't even tell you the exact date, but had a fax on my desk that was, we get a lot of that where kids want to talk to us about transfer opportunities, and the Russell Wilson name jumped in my head right away. I remember watching him on some games during the past couple seasons. Reached out to my quarterback coach, offensive coordinator right away, and he was already aware of it as well, and just began the recruiting process. And I will say this, no matter how good a football player Russell Wilson is, the first thing I wanted to find out was what kind of person he is. I always say that in recruiting, you recruit your own problems, and I wanted to make sure that I wasn't recruiting somebody that was going to potentially be a problem at Wisconsin. He's a stand-up guy, great character, just a really, really neat kid. As I began to evaluate and talk to him, brought him in on his visit, had him meet with a lot of our players, especially offensive players, skill and offensive linemen. Everybody after that visit was very encouraging to talk to about the way that he just handles himself and talks to other players. Come full circle, he obviously picked Wisconsin. He was back on our campus within probably 3 or 4 days after that, and has been there ever since. Because of NCAA rules that we follow, you really can't be around him as a coach. You just kind of have to let him do what he does. And the players have been very positive. You'll have 3 of my guys here in the next couple of days. You can ask them. They've been around him a lot more than I have. So, what Russell brings to the table is an opportunity for us to, as coaches, to see what he can do. We'll get him in fall camp just like every other player. We got 105 guys coming to campus, and we'll figure out who can give us the best chance to win football games in the fall and figure it out from there.
Down in front.
Coach, any additional significance surrounding the Northern Illinois game, given that it is against a former colleague and coach of the players?
Not only a former colleague, one of my best friends. Dave Doran and I have grown up in the coaching profession. Dave is a guy that I thought, after I had an opportunity to work with him a couple months, he's a guy that I thought would be a head coach someday. He's had an opportunity the last couple of years to do that and chose to stay with us, but the chance that Northern Illinois brought was too much for him to pass by. Ironically, to bring Coach Keel into our league, a guy I've known forever and respected a great amount. But I think for us to play Northern Illinois in Chicago at Soldier Field is a pretty cool opportunity. Northern Illinois has been so successful, but to play it in a pro stadium, to play a non-conference game, they have a couple games before us, Kansas. It'll bring national exposure for them as well. So I just think it's neat because we have so many fans, so many Badger fans in the Chicago area, for them to be able to kind of play, just drive 30 minutes, 40 minutes to the home stadium. It's pretty cool.
Come over to Teddy.
Hey, Brett.
Hey,
you
Teddy.
said Russell, you called him a potential starting quarterback. Is there seriously a chance he wouldn't be your starting quarterback?
Yeah, absolutely. I was very open with Russell during the recruiting process that you will have an opportunity to come in and show us what you can do. I think that's probably one of the things that attracted him to our program. We were very honest, very truthful. My parents always taught me, if you always tell the truth, you never have to remember what you said. And that's what we said is, come in, you'll have this opportunity, take full advantage of it, and you'll be the guy that reaps the rewards. But I haven't seen Russell Wilson compete one snap competitively in practice. I think I know what might happen, but until it happens, that's where we're at.
Go down front again.
Coach, with just 11 returning starters, do you think your young guys are ready to step up? 59 freshmen on the roster right now.
Well, and I understand you guys have to, cover our program, and everybody has to write what they write. But I, as a head coach, only focus on what I have. I don't focus on what I lost. One of the things that we always talk about, for instance, J.J. Watt was a great player. When we lost him, we lost a player that was very productive. So as coaches, we always concentrate on, we're not trying to replace J.J. Watt, we're trying to replace his production. Who gives us an opportunity to do that? So we'll look at our current players. We'll have an opportunity to work with them and see where we can go. But, one of the great things I learned during the Coach Alvarez time when I was a defense coordinator, he always talked about, the one thing that never graduates is tradition. And, players move on, players leave early for the draft. You wish them the best of luck, you pat them on the back. I called all my guys yesterday that signed NFL free agency contracts, so excited for them. But you worry about the players, or you concentrate your efforts on the guys you have coming back. And you know what? Those same guys that won a Big Ten championship a year ago are back with us, the guys that weren't NFL eligible. So it's fun for me as a head coach to see this transition, to see guys that you have recruited, that you've worked with on a daily basis, and to see them step into these roles is a lot of fun for me. That's how I look at it.
We'll keep it in the show here.
Coach, I want to ask you, last year you cleared some hurdles. You beat Ohio State. You won the Big Ten championship, I think first time in 11 years for Wisconsin. Just made it to the Rose Bowl. Just those accomplishments, those things that your program was able, the hard work you've put in over 4 or 5 years to get to that point. I don't know, just where you think things are at in terms of Wisconsin, that brand in your football program right now.
Those are great things, but they're a part of history. People write about history, and what you do is what you do. But now what I want to do is concentrate on the future history of our program. I want to concentrate on what our guys are going to be able to do this upcoming season. I couldn't be more excited to be so privileged to be a part of our program. Wisconsin is what it is. We're not real sexy. I always say, we're not the first girl taking a prom, but we're not the last. I think we're a group that just kind of lines up, goes to work, does things the right way. One thing that jumped out to me right away, I remember during the whole recruitment of Russell and the exposure that it brought from media attention. There was a fan, we were doing a Badger Day, and we go all around the state, and a fan walked up to me and shook my hand. He basically said, "Coach, I really appreciate the way you do what you do." And he was sincere. He grabbed my hand and made me look at it, and he said, "I mean what I said." And you're shaking hands, you're trying to say it, and all he was saying was, the Russell Wilson recruitment, whether he ends up being a good player for us or our starter or whatever, but it was a positive story about college football. And I think that's what I'm excited about. One of the first things I do every day is come into my office, and I'll plug onto a web page that basically is all about college football, and I'll read the top 12 headlines. And most of the time, more than 3/4 to all of them are about negative things around college football. And for us to stay in a positive light means a lot for me. It means a lot for us in recruiting. I think that's very evident in the kind of kids we're playing. I think for us to be entering a time in college football, to be part of a new conference to 12 teams, to be a part of the Leaders Division, to have our team on national TV for night games, 4 games in our conference that no one else can touch, to have our winning percentage over the last 6 years go against anybody in college football. It's fun to be a Badger.
Again, if you have a question, raise your hand. Our mic holders will get over to you.
You talked about you reading these headlines and all of them being negative about college football. What's it going to take from either you at Wisconsin or the entire Big Ten to really put college football back in a positive light after the negativity we've seen this offseason?
You know what? That's a great question. And, you know, we always tell our players, don't worry about things you can't control. I'm the head coach at the University of Wisconsin. What I can do is I can control and handle and manage the things that I have on my desk on a daily basis. And if we continue to make positive strides, I think it helps everybody involved. But, you know, from the bigger picture, I remember early on in this process when I became a head coach, some of the older coaches in our profession, some guys with more experience, expressed to me, hey, you have an opportunity as a young coach and the success you're having to be a great voice for our profession. And I'll never take that lightly. You know, if I had a dream world, I would say hammer the guys that don't do things right. To me, in my profession, the only thing that I get very frustrated about is when I know things go on that aren't right. Whether mainly in recruiting, I think that's the biggest thing that comes across my desk, because people are willingly and knowingly abusing rules and breaking things. And when that happens, to me, when you are consciously aware of abusing a rule, there's no excuse for that. You know, if you're trying to be competitive, you're trying to, you know, win a football game and, you know, all those things, you know, maximize all your opportunities and do what you have to do. But when you consciously break an NCAA rule, to me, the only way to deter that is to get rid of people or seriously hold programs accountable. And that's probably the number one thing I would love to see happen in the world of college football.
We're going to go down front here first and then over in the aisle.
Coach, you mentioned the increased media attention that's been brought to Wisconsin. Also, you're playing 4 night games this year. That's also going to bring media attention. What do you do to keep your players focused despite all that attention?
You know what? I think the part that I really enjoy about our players, and you got an opportunity to interview them over the next 48 hours, but we really do concentrate just one thing at a time. We're going to concentrate on coming into fall camp, doing what you have to do to get better. And we always say at Wisconsin, if you don't like football, don't come to Wisconsin. You know, come in and practice and work and get a mentality and a framework in your mind that you just know that's what we're going to do. And don't let success go to your head. Keep an even keel. And it's been fun because I think the one thing that's come out of conversations with my strength coach and my strength staff and with our players this year is everybody just knows how to work. And if that happens, we got a chance. As far as what our player, you know, there's so many voices that go into a young man's head. You know, it could be mom and dad. It could be pretty little girl he's dating or trying to date or whatever. You know, they tell everybody how good they are. We as coaches remind them how humble you need to be, and that past success does not guarantee future success. You have to work every day to get where you need to be, and good things will hopefully happen.
This will be our final question here.
Coach, you mentioned coming down hard on people. Bill Cubitt, your good friend at Western Michigan, said recently that he would like to see any coach, assistant head coach, any found guilty of a major violation, no longer able to coach in the NCAA. You talked about coming down hard. What would you think of that?
I don't, I think the proven thing there is if someone willingly and knowingly violates a rule, I don't see anything wrong with a substantial penalty. What that is, I'll let that other people decide. But you know what? When I come across something that I know someone is willingly or knowingly doing, I have no tolerance for that. Not only across, but in my program especially. You know, I remind my assistants all the time. As a head coach, I'm responsible for so many people. You know, I tell kids all the time in recruiting, you know, I'm going to be in charge of you, you know, basically 2 or 3 hours on a practice field every day. I don't know what you're going to do at 1 o'clock on Saturday night. I hope I know because I recruit a young man. You know, well, I said it earlier, but I think you recruit your own problems. One thing that we really try to emphasize at Wisconsin is I tell my coaches, you know, all my coaches are fathers. They all have children. If you aren't willing to let a recruit come in and, you know, babysit your kids for an evening when you're not in the house, don't recruit them. if we have a young man that, you know, is disrespectful to his mother, we're sitting at the dinner room table and he's disrespectful to a woman, don't recruit him. You know, it's usually an indicator of something that's bad to come. Everybody argues with their dad. You know, my dad, you know, never played the game, but he thinks he's Vince Lombardi. You know, so I think that's an important thing to always recognize in a recruiting process is, you know, how a kid responds and acts around people, and hopefully good things will happen. But, you know, in our program, fortunately for us, there hasn't been a lot of those things. Thank you very much. On Wisconsin.